Hey guys, it's Joe the Android Guy. Now, we've had quite a few discussions on batteries over at the Android Guy Weekly. If you've missed those, make sure you hit the link at the end of this video so you can go back and catch up. We've talked about how to keep your batteries more healthy and how to get more runtime out of them. But we've always talked about what you and I, the end user, can do to make our batteries last longer. Well, what are the OEMs doing to get you better battery life? That's what we're going to talk about in this week's episode of the Android Guy Weekly. So let's get the easiest one out of the way. Just put in a bigger battery. Now, a lot of manufacturers are doing that, but there's a race to have the thinnest device out there. The thicker the battery is, the thicker the device is going to be. And you'd be amazed just how much of that device's thickness is the battery itself. In fact, a lot of manufacturers are building the entire circuit board around the battery to make up for it. Helps you keep things a little bit slimmer, but you still have that bulky, thick battery to make up for it. Well, the only way to make it thinner without a radical jump in battery technology is essentially to scale back the capacity of the battery to make it thinner. That works great, except now your battery doesn't last as long and you're losing those milliamp hours left and right just so you can say, hey, I've got the thinnest smartphone on the planet for the next 2 weeks. Yay. And then the newest, thinnest one will be out. So what are they doing? Well, let's look at the Droid Razr. Motorola said, hey, this device is great, but it eats battery life for lunch. So what are we going to do? They released a new SKU. They released the Droid Razr Max. And it's amazing. I go to lunch with a buddy all the time who's got a Razr Max. He says it's fabulous. He listens to his streaming audio on it on the way to and from work, while he's at lunch, while he's in the server room, makes phone calls on it, all kinds of stuff. And lunchtime, he's barely dipped into the battery. Just hardly anything at all. It lasts him easily through the entire day. Why don't more manufacturers do that? Well, for part of them, they just want to have a thin device. For another part of them, they want to have an accessory that they can sell you. For example, the Galaxy Nexus comes with a 1750 milliamp hour battery. It's decent. It'll get most people through the day and that's about it. You've got to charge either on the way to work or from work, or you're going to be out of battery life by the time your nightlife gets around. So what can you do? Go out and buy, I think it's about 40 bucks, a little bit less, the accessory battery to take you all the way up to 2000 milliamp hours. Doesn't add that much bulk to the phone. In fact, if you just got the phone with the 2000 milliamp battery and the replacement back cover, which you will need, by the way, they come together in a kit when you buy them from Samsung or from an authorized distributor, by the way. Essentially what you're doing is you're not even going to notice. You won't notice that your phone is a little bit thicker, but you will notice that it's got a lot more runtime. The second way manufacturers are trying to reduce battery use is to turn it off when you don't need it. Now, I'm not talking about the whole device. I'm talking about adding either an app or a control panel setting that lets you basically tell it what you want to turn off when your battery is getting low. So this is what Samsung has done with the Galaxy Tab 7.7. I'm in the settings, and this is the battery saving mode. Over on the right-hand side, that's my right, not this side, you've got all these different things that it does. So when the power gets low, you can turn off your Wi-Fi unless you're connected to an access point, which is good. If you're connected, stay connected. If you're not connected, stop looking, essentially. It'll save quite a bit of battery life and extend that small amount that you have left even longer. Might be something that you want to do regularly through some other means, and we'll cover those in upcoming articles and upcoming episodes of the Android Guy. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. We'll have a link at the end, so we'll make it real easy for you. The second thing that this does is Bluetooth. Turn off the Bluetooth. It's a radio. It's broadcasting, it's receiving, it's looking for something to pair to, even when it's not paired. Yes, it's in low power mode, but low power still isn't no power. It can automatically turn off Bluetooth. GPS. I don't need GPS unless I'm driving someplace or looking for something. Be perfectly frank, I don't care if my Facebook posts and my Twitter tweets know where I am. I want to save battery life more than that. So you can turn that off entirely through a setting like this. Data synchronization. I don't care about a new calendar update or a new Gmail if I've only got 3% battery life left. I'm probably not going to be able to read it or reply to it anyway, so just don't tell me about them, I won't miss them. You might not want to do that, or you might. It's up to you. You've also got brightness. Now, this is a big deal. We're going to come back to it, okay? Hang on to that. And then etc. Etc. is kind of everything else where they put everything that doesn't fit in. And it's just kind of more of the same. So that's what a lot of manufacturers are doing. Some manufacturers are trying to reduce battery use by including, pre-installing, and turning on a task killer. Now, these types of apps are kind of controversial. I'll let you have your own opinion of that. I don't particularly like them. I don't think they work all that well. They're trying to do something that the operating system is already trying to manage, and they're trying to do it better. Now, I don't know about you, but I kind of think that Google has a lot more people working on Android than some guy who has some task killer in the market. That's just me, but you see what I'm saying. If you've got a task killer that works great, fabulous. Let us know in the comments. What is it, and does it help you with your battery life? That's what we're after here in this video. Do you have one that came pre-installed on your phone from Motorola, Samsung, HTC, LG, whoever it may be, that does that, and did it help extend your battery life? I'm interested to find out. I really haven't seen anything one way or another. The last thing we're going to talk about is the biggest thing, and that's hardware. We talked about brightness. Anytime you go into your settings, you're going to find out that the biggest consumer of all of the power is your screen. You'd be amazed how long these things will last when you don't turn on the screen. If you don't believe me, open up Pandora, fire up a station, listen to it. I can listen all day long and just take a little bit of a dent out of my battery as long as I don't turn on that screen. So that's the biggest thing. Of course, you've got processors, you've got motherboards, you've got all of these other things that they're putting in there. They have to make the phone work. But they're putting in things that are doing more on 1 or 2 chips rather than half a dozen chips. That saves power. They're also doing things with smaller chips, with more efficient chips. They run cooler, they run at lower voltages, they consume less power to do what they need you to do. Some manufacturers, most anymore I believe, are using the scalability properties that are built into modern day CPUs. So if you're running something very, very computationally intensive, should we put it that way, it's going to chew up a lot of power because it's running at full bore. If you've got a 1.5 quad core, it's running all 4 cores. Got confused because there's one quad core that has 5 cores. Seems odd, doesn't it? Anyway, so it's running all 4 of those cores at 1.5 gigahertz. That's a lot of power. I don't need that when I'm just checking my email. So hey, why don't we just run it, say 350 megahertz? Kind of interesting, you can run utilities on a lot of phones that will tell you how fast the CPU is running, and it'll scale up and down based on what you're doing. So very nice. I don't know of any manufacturers that aren't doing that anymore. So hey, kudos to you. But we're still coming back to screen. What are they doing there? Screen technology has to improve. Screen lighting has to improve. Now, does that mean that we're going to light it with a backlight? And if so, is that going to be, a fluorescent bulb? Is that going to be LEDs? Is that going to be OLED? What's that going to be? Or are we going to try and harvest some of the ambient life around us and reflect it back? Can we do that and still maintain good, crisp, clear colors and deep, deep blacks? See, that's what they're doing, and it's hard for them to do. Different screens have different properties to them. Some take more power than others. Pentile, I know you guys hate it, but it's one of the better out there as far as power consumption goes. Sure, there are others that are better than that, and that's not the only reason that manufacturers choose Pentile displays, but it is one of the reasons. So they're doing a lot to try and extend battery life, and it's really a team effort. It's not just the OEM, it's not just the manufacturer, it's the chip provider, it's Google who's making the OS, it's the customizations to that OS, it's the right drivers, it's everything working in concert. But let's not forget, you really can't beat a nice extended battery. So let us know, what did I miss? What do you guys see manufacturers doing currently that we didn't talk about? What would you like to see them do in the future to help them extend our battery life? Is that bigger capacity batteries, and are you willing to sacrifice some thickness and some weight to get a bigger battery, or do you want to see them improve technologically by improving either the operating system or the hardware that goes into the devices so they take less power? Comment right down there below. We'll cover each one of these topics in brief over at the website, pocketnow.com. And of course, we want all of the comments that you can to be over at PocketNow so we can aggregate everybody all together in one place. That's where I'm going to be to answer all of your questions. For PocketNow, talking batteries and manufacturers, for the Android Guy Weekly, I'm Joe Levi. Well, a big battery these days is around 300 milliamp hours. 3,000 milliamp hours. 100. Okay, there's some